Welcome, welcome, welcome. Universe, planet Earth, Milky Way. Welcome back to another installment of Out of Space. Today, we have a very, very special guest. I had to leave the shores of South Africa to go bring in one of my closest friends in my whole world, in the whole world, really. And that is Lorena, all the way from Honduras. Lorena, welcome to South Africa. Kind of.
Hello! I still have to make it all the way there, but it's a little far away from me.
Yeah, likewise. Ironically, I think I sent you a picture, but you can't see it right now in front of you. Um, I, I, I googled a picture of Honduras, so I'm not too sure
Uh-huh.
if it really is, because the internet can lie. You can type Honduras and it gives you a picture to
Uh,
anything. So I typed in Honduras and I placed it as the background for our picture. So now it's kind of like we're on a boat in the middle of, or in Honduras on the ocean, or in the ocean or on a riverbed.
what if it's not Honduras?
If it's not, it still looks great, to be honest. I wasn't too sure. I should have
Hmm.
maybe even fact checked it. But obviously during our testing, we got to speak and catch up a little bit. But what I didn't really get to ask you is how's life? We haven't really seen each other in person in like many years. So how's life?
We haven't seen each other in 5 years. That's a lot.
It's 5 years now. We're getting older.
Hey, we graduated 5 years ago. We're old.
Ah, getting
Nah.
getting old.
Still not old. Well, life is good. Thankful with God. I moved back to Honduras. I'm not from Honduras actually, although I think like maybe all my South African friends, I don't want to make it a stereotype, but I have to admit that before I met people like you guys,
Hmm.
we had the bad stereotype that it was just like Africa. And then I learned that Africa has more than 50 countries and whatnot. So probably a lot of people are asking, like, so where's Honduras? I've never heard about it. And it's okay. I won't get mad at you. Just please don't tell me what a friend told me when I was at Lindenwood. They were like, "Oh, you look Indian. So is Honduras next to India?" And I'm like, "No, I speak Spanish. I'm not from India." But yeah, if you have a hint of where's Mexico, we're kind of like a little down from Mexico, but life's good. So I actually moved back from to Honduras after graduating from Lindenwood. But I am originally from Colombia, South America, which we still speak Spanish and whatnot. But yeah, so kind of a foreigner in Honduras too.
Falcao.
Yay!
uh,
El Tigre.
That's right. That's right. I love Falcao. But anyway, football or Falcao isn't just Colombia.
He's going to be a daddy.
Only now.
I mean, he has like three girls, like three daughters,
Oh yeah.
and he's finally going to have a little boy. So yeah, that's exciting.
I was about to say that the stereotype for football players is that they have kids very young, generally. You know.
Hey, but he has a very like stable family, if I can say that. Like
See.
to be a soccer player, I think he's like a good example.
By the way,
But yeah.
before we continue, I know you weren't
Mm-hmm.
really a fan, and you were not really in the scene when we did these things. But because it's been such a long time, I wanted to commemorate this experience or this reunion with. I'm gonna have a drink over here. I'm sipping on. It's late at night here, so it's not too early. I'm sipping on a. It's
Okay.
a Japanese dry gin. It's called Sakurao, distilled in Hiroshima. It,
Hiroshima.
it's
I want to go there one day.
this one is for Mitsuru. I must actually get Mitsuru on this show.
Hey, it's his birthday today.
It is his birthday today. Mitsuru, if you're here,
Mitsuru.
this is for you. This is for you, Taicho.
I'll drink a cup of water, Mitsuru.
That's right. I got some water though, don't worry, just to keep me sober. But
you have to still give me my I'm not gonna say this right. My
Roibos.
tea, yes.
Rooibos.
Yeah.
Rojo, rooibos.
Yeah. Rojo, red, yes.
See, so what you
I miss my tea. It's
Ah,
been probably more than 5 years since I had that
I
tea.
used to give you the tea as well at school, right?
Yeah. Whenever we would meet each other in the cafeteria, sometimes you had some tea and you would give me some tea.
Or
But
like,
most of the tea you had it in your room. So
ah,
it was like hiding.
of course. The problem is that, when people don't know what a good thing is, but the moment they start to realize you have a good thing, the moment they start to realize you're the guy who's busy hustling and
Mm,
pushing the rooibos, then everyone's gonna come to me for tea.
especially in your dorm. Yeesh.
Uh-huh. Or airs. But wait, there's something I didn't want to skip on. What's quite
Uh-huh.
important, you said something that I wanted to say, which is very important. South Africans generally, the ones that I've encountered generally, aren't familiar with Honduras. I
Yeah.
actually said to my mom, I was like, I'm having my show today. It's like, oh, no, who are you having on? I was like, oh, no, Lorena, remember I told you, oh, your friend, your Spanish speaking friend. I'm like, yeah, it's from Honduras. She's like, Honduras? Who's that? Because it's not really taught. I think a lot of the times, I knew about Honduras prior to meeting you because of football.
hmm
That's
Oh,
see,
oh,
yeah,
because we went to the um, South African, how do you call that thing in
the World
English?
World
The World
Cup.
Cup.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was exciting. It was
But
like the first time after like since 1980 or something like that.
mm, but you
And
guys,
we haven't been back since that time.
but you had a good player also, a really good player. I think he was a striker. What is it? Was not Suazo, not Suazo.
A striker. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about Suazo now as well. I miss him.
David Suazo. Oh, Angel Suazo.
Angel.
Yeah.
It's been a long
I
time.
don't think he's watching, but if he watches, hola, Angel.
I'll send him a link. Where is he?
Um, he's kind of a country boy now. He's actually kind of like administering some of like his dad's businesses,
Mhm.
like crops and stuff. So he's like in another state.
But in
It's
Honduras.
called Olancho. Yeah, he's still in Honduras, but he's kind of like in a farm or something like that.
You know,
I'm in the city, so
what I loved about so first and foremost, the conversation you and I had, which is so poor. So people out there in the world, when you become good friends with people, first and foremost, try to make sure you remember the important facts, like where somebody comes from. You know, my whole life, well, not my whole life, the whole time that I knew you, I honestly thought that you're half Colombian, half Honduran. I
no.
sincerely believed it with all my heart, with all my
Well,
heart.
if you could like distinguish Spanish accents, like you hear me speak in Spanish and you would say, I am Honduran, but I'm not. I grew up here, but I'm Colombian. So it just happens to be like that.
And tell us more about Honduras. Like, so there's also a lot of stereotypes, generally. So people would think in South America, or Central America, people would think that people don't
hmm
really speak English well, or they don't really learn English. So what's the dynamic, and how well do people speak English in Honduras in particular? And is it taught at school? Like, what's the whole infrastructure of the process?
Okay, so basically, I cannot see the picture that you guys are looking at in your screens, but I'm hoping Neil got the actual Honduran picture there. But if you don't know where Honduras is located, it's okay. But we're actually in the middle of like the whole Americas, not the United States, because I don't know why people call the United States America. But that's another conversation
Marketing.
for another day. But we're just like in the middle of like the whole Americas. So we're in Central America. And about the speaking English question, actually, well, I'm blessed because I had the opportunity to attend a bilingual school while I
Hmm.
was growing up. But it's not everyone. Not everyone. I would say I can call it like a privilege. I was lucky enough to be able to learn school, like learn English since a very young age. But actually, like I think that the Hondurans or the people who go to like bilingual schools in Honduras, we have pretty decent English. I
Yeah.
mean, I would go to when I went to school in the States, I actually had a professor at the business school, and he would be like, if you told me you're like from Florida or Miami, I would buy
Oh.
that. Like, I would never think you're like from Honduras. And I'm like, hey, I also speak Spanish perfectly. So, okay, but I am not American. But yeah,
You know what I also like?
our
Yeah,
native
no worries.
language is Spanish. So yeah,
And what are some of the dialects? Well, not dialects, but some of the local languages. I know Spanish was in Honduras is not a Spanish country. It was colonized by the Spanish.
hmm
So what are some of the local languages? Are they still alive? What's the situation there?
So sadly, they're dying.
Mm,
There's not a lot of cultural education around that. But I remember when I met you and Ben, I told you about this ethnic group of people. They're called the Garifunas. They're kind of like in the
Garifunas.
northern coast of Honduras, and they speak the Garifuna dialect.
Mm.
I cannot speak that, but yeah. So there's that. There's other ethnic groups like the Tolupanes, Chorti, Lencas. But yeah, I don't know anything about their dialects or like for example the Mayans, they existed like thousands of years ago, but no one no one speaks Mayan anymore, for example.
Mm.
Like it's totally lost, and it seems like the same thing is going to happen with the other dialects. But I think like from the remaining ones, probably one of the strongest is the Garifuna because they're very like
Proud.
yeah, of their roots. They actually have like West African roots. So if you see them dancing, it would be fun. Like you would never think that there's like I don't know if I can say this, but like colored people in Honduras. And yeah, it's part of our country too. So it's beautiful because there's still like a lot of that background from like so many years ago.
Mm. And a quick
hmm
question about their culture in particular. What's when you go to school at a younger age, what do they teach you about their cultures? Um, Essentially, what do they expose you to? Regards to those ethnic groups.
I think we learned the basics, like their dialects, like what they eat. Like for example, Garifunas are very strong on in Spanish, we call it yuca
Chuka.
or cassava, yucca, however you want to call it. You know what's cassava, right?
Yeah, I know cassava.
So we learn things like that, but mostly
Plantain.
I think, oh yeah, so good, fried
Fried
plantain.
plantain.
Woo.
I was telling my
But yeah,
girlfriend because remember plantain is also it's a regional plant. So or
mm,
fruit plant. So we had plantain here, and I was just like, it's not it's not the same. It's not the real one. Like you have to have plantain from those regions. Made there, cooked there. Mwah. Oh,
you think it tastes different?
definitely. The ones I had here tasted. I don't know. They tasted like sweet and sour-ish a little bit. In a
Wait,
way,
so there are no, how do you call like plantain plants
trees,
or
trees. I
crops
think South
yeah,
Af.
or crops in South Africa?
No, I think plantain. And please, anybody fact
What?
checked us. There's no the plantains are grown in a humid environment, if I'm not mistaken. So you see them in East Africa, West Africa. I think
Oh,
more on the west though.
I would think West Africa,
Yeah, more
yes,
on the
because
west.
I remember when I first went to St. Louis, Missouri for school, I spent like my first 8 months without eating plantains, and that was terrible for me. I love plantains so much. And then I had a very nice group of Ghanaian friends, and one time we had like a friendsgiving, and then
Kweku.
I saw this whole thing of like plantains, like fried plantains. I was like, I almost cried. It was so good.
It was
It was
so
my
good.
first time having plantains in Missouri, which that was I still remember that. It's a
Wild,
good
right?
memory. Yeah.
But to be fair, maybe because my thing is, and I have to be honest at times, maybe because the plantains I had the first time tasted different. Maybe the plantains I ate here were more real. I don't know. But I preferred the ones
Well,
we had there because it just tasted different. But I had plantains in London also that was made by like some of the ethnic groups there as well. And it tasted
well,
similar to what we had.
I think it also depends on whether the plantain is like ripe
Yeah, right.
or if it's still like green or if it's kind of like in between those two. Like it varies. Like if it's really ripe, it can be sweet.
Mm. And it's
Some
supposed to
people
be a
don't like that
balance.
sweet. Yeah. It depends. I love plantain, however it is, like fried, whatever, in the oven, baked, but anything. It's so good. I love it.
Mm. Mm. And I
Yeah.
also wanted to ask you two more things about Honduras before we move on to something else. So the one thing, actually three things, something a little bit light. So the one thing was just to close off with the ethnic groups. Um, so obviously they have their own cultures, right? So I would assume that not really the same, but it's kind of similar to the ethnic groups who are in the Amazon. You know, they have their own culture. They're kind of separated from society. They have their own place. Is it like that? Are they segregated from the rest of Honduras? I don't mean by governmental regulation. I just mean by choice. Like, how do they integrate with everyone else?
I'm not the best person to answer this, but as far as my understanding goes, I wouldn't say that, for example, Garifunas are segregated. Yes, you can find the majority of them in the northern coast of Honduras. But even in the city now, there's a lot of like people who come from that region. However, um, there's a part of Honduras that's called La Mosquitia.
La Mosquita.
Mosquitia.
Tia.
Yeah, it's really hard to access that department or state. It's huge, but there's no roads. Like you would have to go through boats or like a small plane or something, but there's no like there's some dirt roads, but it's really really hard to access. So I would say they are more segregated, but because of the distance, like I don't know if you I don't think you know this, but like a couple of years ago some guy came up with this study saying that he had discovered the white city, which is kind of like an ancient city, kind of like the Mayans.
Yeah.
So they discovered that in La Mosquitia, but it still hasn't been like a lot of exploration and stuff just because it's really far away. And I mean, you have to know like the locals in order to like have access to getting there, if that makes sense. I don't want to
So
say it's dangerous, but you need to know your way around. Like I've never been there, and I can count with like my fingers the people I know who have been there before. But
so
it seems beautiful and it looks
it
like
should be.
the jungle for real.
So do you think that the inhabitants there are a bit aggressive? No, 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 wrong word. Maybe like protective or defensive of the area itself, or is it just a thing where if you go there by yourself, you might not find your way back?
Yes. I wouldn't say aggressive. I think they're just very protective, I would say.
Which makes sense.
I think that's the word.
It makes sense.
But I wouldn't advise anyone to go there without knowing someone who lives there, or even it's really hard to like find tour companies that get you there. It's like the
Mm.
jungle.
So
There's like there's like a huge river that's called like the Biosfera del Río Plátano, and that's where like most of our oxygen comes from, like the whole country.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's very like virgin when it comes to like nature and stuff, just
See,
because
see,
yeah, if that makes sense.
it
It's a
does.
little hard to
I
explain.
think you know what
But
it
I've
is.
never been there, but
Mm.
I would like to go there. But then there's also like kind of weird stories about like witchcraft and yeah. So yeah.
You know why I can maybe relate to that story. It's because what you're finding, even in Africa, what you're finding worldwide is that a lot of these original ethnic cultures, or let me say Afro cultures, and they're not surviving. There's a lack of sustainability. Even if I look at in South Africa, for example, in general, one of the questions I always ask, and maybe it's just close to my family, but I see it in different ways, in different people. The cultures is changing, it's diluting a bit, it's becoming a bit modern. So, some of the olden practices are kind of dying away. Which is why I actually like places like Swaziland, even though Swaziland is also a little bit, it's kind of westernized as well. Not kind of, it's westernized as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to those places, and there's a lot of places like that in South Africa as well, just that I haven't been. You just see the beauty of what was, and what
Mm-hmm.
is trying to be, and it's so tricky because of where the world is going. So it's not necessarily because of Honduras or necessarily because of South Africa. It's just the general development of the world, where the world is going. Like you said, the Mayans are no longer here. You know, you look at what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with the Native Americans in America. How many did you meet when you were there?
I didn't meet anyone.
I only met one, and you know why I met her?
Really?
She was half Native American, and she was drunk. It was like I think it was like one of the.
That's probably why I didn't meet anyone.
Yeah,
Just saying.
someone was having a party. I forget his name. If I said his name, it starts with a B. I think it's Brian. Let me not mention
Ugh,
people. But yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, it's like that. There's a lack of preservation. Like I've only read bits and pieces, and I'm sure you've seen like what's happening with the cultures in the Amazon, specifically in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil. Like it's almost like they're really trying their hardest to maintain it, but it's like the world is like, we need more factories. Need more this and that, which is
Yeah.
sad because I was saying to my girlfriend the other day that like it's too late for the earth. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that we must now go get gas guzzlers, spill oil. Not that. We should obviously try to do better, but it's just like the way things are going, it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
we're walking towards the inevitable. Not now, probably not in our lifetimes or our children's lifetime, but at some point the earth is just gonna pack up and be like, I've had enough of you humans, and that's why they're trying to, colonize space. But you know what's interest? But you know what's interesting about the universe? The universe is all energy, and it's something that's above and beyond all of us. So if we try to do all these things, we keep trying to do these things, it's just gonna come back full circle on all of us.
Well, if you see what happens, it's kind of like history repeats itself, like on and on. Like, isn't that what's happening?
It is, and it gets
Like at
worse.
the a lot of people are scared, and I know the situation. It's not like I want to talk about it, but if you look at the COVID-19 thing, then you go some years before, and then there was the Spanish flu, and just kind of history like repeating itself,
Absolutely.
wars and whatnot. But
People just can't get enough. They're like, "Ooh, we don't want war." Then it's like, but we need war." And then war happens. "Oh, we're tired of war." We need war." "Oh, we're tired of war."
yeah.
But then it's war in different ways. It's so silly. But just
Mm-hmm.
maybe two more things on Honduras. One, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this question as well. So back to the English thing. So is there a complex or a thing of, if you speak English you have money, or like, that type of thing? Is there a negative view in terms of people who speak Espanol, versus people who speak English generally, even if it's light? Is there that thing? You know what I mean?
A light one, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um,
Hey, hablo
I have to
inglés.
say though, I have to say though that from the countries in Central America, Honduras has the largest English-speaking population.
Oh wow.
I do not know the exact number, but from Central America, yes. However, it's kind of ironic because for most graduate entry level jobs, I'm talking about like people who have degrees, like they ask you to speak English.
Yeah.
For example, there's a lot of call centers here in Honduras.
Yeah.
It's like the thing now,
Mm.
like from companies in the States or wherever, and they have like their base call centers here, and
Makes
like
sense.
you don't make you don't earn a lot of money, but you are required to speak English, and if you don't speak English, you can't get that job, for example.
Correct.
So
Correct.
yeah, I mean, they do teach English in the public school system, but
Basic, basic, basic.
yeah.
Hello and how are
Hmm.
you? Essentially.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting because here in South Africa you have that. You do have a complex of, if you speak English, they call you like Ngamla, like white person. Yeah,
Really?
white person, or you assume you're viewed to have money. And which is so what's an interesting thing, right? So so we call it vernacular language, so the local languages. So my mom is Pedi and my dad is
Hmm.
Tswana. So normally you take your father's culture essentially. So I'm Tswana.
Hmm.
So for example, I'm not really great at my ethnic at my mother tongue. So I don't speak it well. I can understand it well, but I don't really speak it too well because my mom raised me to speak English. I don't think on purpose though, because my sister can speak like Zulu and Setswana and pretty well. So it might have just been an
Wow.
accident. I don't know. But
But
hmm,
now, how many dialects do you guys have in South Africa? It sounds like there's a lot.
we have 11 national languages.
So you call them languages
Yeah,
or dialects?
not languages. Because, for example,
Wow.
so remember, so a dialect is almost like a subculture or subcategory of a language. So, for example, you can speak Sepedi here in Pretoria, Sepedi.
Uh-huh.
So if I say it like that, they're gonna be like, "Ah, this guy is representing us wrong." So Sepedi, you can speak Sepedi here
Uh-huh.
in Pretoria, but if you speak Sepedi here versus in the north, which is Polokwane, not Polokwane, Limpopo. Polokwane is a city. Limpopo is the state. So, so the state for Pretoria is Gauteng. So if you speak
Hmm.
Sepedi here in Gauteng versus speaking Sepedi in Limpopo, it sounds different. It's almost like a different. It's not really. It's kind of like different words that move here and there, but it's kind of like a different dialect. Also, like even though Sesotho and Setswana are two different languages, they still come from the same root language and they sound similar. But a Setswana person versus a Sesotho person will tell you that sometimes they can't even understand each other for on small things though. It's almost like Portuguese and Espanol, in a way like that,
Uh-huh.
in a way like that. So that's how
Mm.
the dialects work. So English. So ironically, if you don't speak like the local language as well, and this is just my experience. I don't know if it's anyone else's experience, and you try to speak, even if you don't speak it well, speak the local language to somebody who speaks the local language really well. Sometimes they take offense because they think you don't want to speak English to them because you think they're inferior. Crazy,
Ooh.
right? When actually the
Yeah.
local language is superior. It's us. It's where we come from. But there's that whole
Hmm.
complex around English as a language here,
Hmm.
which I
That's
hate. I hate it.
interesting.
I hate it. I hate it so
I,
much.
like my assumption though is that if I speak English, I can get around South Africa. I
Yeah,
mean, South Africa is
absolutely,
huge, but that's my assumption. Like
and it's correct.
at least everyone whom I met from South Africa, they spoke English because
The Queen's English.
hey, I have to say something. And
Mm-mm.
please don't judge me for to whoever's watching. The first time I heard an African person, because I was kind of like naive when it came to like the 50 plus countries and the whole thing. And I heard them speak with a British accent. I was like, woo!
Blown away. Blown. You're like, what?
Yeah, it was like, I've never heard about this before. Like, what is going on? It was fun.
But you know what's crazy though? So I've been going to London like a few times the past couple of years, right? And what's killed me, and when I say kill, I just mean it's always a shock to the system for me, is whenever I'm like whenever I see a person who's like African, or even Indian or Asian, for
Hmm.
example, because of where I come from here, in my head, it's automatically like, oh, they're going to sound like this. And then it's like, oh, how's you doing, Mike? Yeah, you looking to buy some Nikes, yeah? And I'm just like, whoa! And it's not a shot to anyone from from the UK. I'm just saying that it's just ironic how we have these expectations, these stereotypes that are embedded in us.
Mhm.
It always gets me, even though I know I forget because my
It's like, uh-huh. Sorry. It's
no,
like, for
you're fine.
example, a lot of people, I hope now that your friends know where Honduras at, but a lot of people think that just because I'm Latino, I'm Mexican. So we would go out to like eat tacos or something, which were like American tacos, not real tacos. But then they were like, oh yeah, you want hot sauce because you eat spicy food. And I'm like, I don't eat spicy food. I am not Mexican. And I don't know if all Mexican people eat spicy food, but they do eat, like the majority at least. Like they like hot sauce, and we call it chile, like
Chide.
chile, yeah. And it's
Oh,
like the hot
okay.
sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the country, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't personally, and I'm not saying that some people in Honduras don't eat spicy food. What I'm just saying it's that I'm not Mexican. I don't do spicy food and I'm not expected to eat spicy food. But personally, I don't like it. I
Mm,
don't like the burning sensation in my mouth and I don't like it. But it's funny because you're like,
that's what
it's
people
okay.
expect.
Whatever. Yeah.
So maybe let's skip to that. I was gonna speak about something else in Honduras, but I think we've spoken about Honduras enough. Let's talk about America stereotypes. So
Oh.
let's talk about other than being Mexican, what other stereotypes were shot right at you when you're in the States?
Well, I don't know if it was because we went to school in Missouri, but a lot of people told me I looked like I was from northern India. Like they were like, you look like you're Indian, but like your skin complexion is a little lighter. And I'm like, I never met an Indian person before I came to Missouri. I'm just starting to meet them, but okay, I don't speak their language or anything, but that's okay. Like I wouldn't get offended. It would just be actually one of the people who said that was someone who lived in your dorm, which was yeah. But anyway,
From
um,
American.
mm-mm.
Don't say from Zimbabwe.
No, he was actually Indian.
No, not our
But
RA. Was it our RA?
then, then a lot of people from the
Ah.
U.S. would tell me that. Like, I came to Heather one time. Like, she's an American person, and I told her like, hey, this person told me this, and she's like, oh yeah, I would think the same too. And I'm like, whatever. But also, a lot of people couldn't believe that my English was good.
Mm.
I'm
It's
not trying
really,
to
it's
sound
really good.
proud or something, but they were like, why is your English so good? How can you speak English so well? Like, especially when I told them I came from Honduras and they had no idea where Honduras was at. And at least most of the people who like you met at Lindenwood from Honduras, they spoke decent English, I
Mm.
would think so. But yeah, it's still like the stereotype that I'm not saying that people here think like you're super wealthy because you speak English, but yeah, you do have kind of some privilege because you're bilingual. But
Correct.
yeah, what other thing like from American people? Hmm. Well, the food situation, the not liking the spicy stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I thankfully I never had like racist comments. Like I didn't take the thing that I looked like I was from India like a racist thing.
Mm.
I never took it that way. But thankfully I don't think I was the type of person who experienced racist comments. However, if someone would want to think like, why is your English so good? Like and they could get offended by that, I would understand. But it's not in me to kind of get offended by those things.
That makes sense.
Uh,
I can.
then, uh, Some people would be like, once they knew I was Latino, they're like, oh, but you probably have family here in the States. And I'm like, no,
No.
I don't. Like, why would I be in Missouri if I had family in the US? But yeah. What
So
about you?
so I didn't have many. I had a few, but
Mm-hmm.
I can share a few from others. So I think let me talk about the ones that I experienced. The ones I experienced was, wow, you speak really good English. So there was that.
Mm-hmm.
There was what was there? Um, oh, I remember my first roommate, and it kind of offended me. I
He
felt
was American? He
yeah,
was
he
American, right?
was, yeah. Um, it kind of offended me. He said something to me. He was like, he was just like he was talking generally. Then he said, "Oh right, so do you know Beyonce and Rihanna?" No, no, and
Ah.
I was just like, wow. I do regret one of my regrets from my experience in Lindenwood is I didn't really give I didn't expose my first roommate enough to life. I think that wasn't good. But okay, what else? So okay, no, let me go to other people. So I remember someone told Galilu. They asked him.
Kalilu.
I spoke to him about a week, actually yesterday or 2 days ago. I told him that you're gonna be on the show. Um, so
Oh,
he
let
told
me know so I can watch.
exactly, exactly. So Kalilu told me that he one day they said to him, "Yo, bro, why you wearing pants, man? This is the land of the free. It's America. You don't have to wear jeans just because you're here. You must be yourself."
Like if
Woo!
he wouldn't wear pants in Malawi, that's dumb.
There was that, and what else is there? You know what's interesting, about stereotypes. So, and you know what? People might get offended by it, but it's just my experience. I always felt like, white Americans, for example, not for example, white Americans treated African Americans or at the school, and even like the cops and stuff, a little differently to African Americans. One of the things I noticed on campus was that, there was definitely a divide between the
Yeah.
black Americans and the white Americans. There was like definitely a divide. And it felt so strange. I think obviously we were in a closed bubble, so we weren't experiencing, I mean, Ferguson was right close to us. So we weren't really experiencing the plight of some of the people there. But I mean, it's super crazy how that is. But let's not, I don't want to go too deep
Yeah,
into
let's
that.
not talk about
Yeah,
that.
we
I
could be
have to
here for
mention though,
hours.
I think this is not an American stereotype, but a stereotype I personally had. I remember when I met Kalilu, and I later knew that I don't want to talk about religion either, but it's just we're talking about stereotypes.
Yeah,
I later knew that he was Muslim.
correct.
And as a Latino, you would never expect colored people to be Muslim because, in your mind, what you hear from the news is they're like, they look like Arabs and, like those thick eyebrows and lighter skin. And do you know what I mean? I'm not saying this like in a racist way or
No, 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 no. I
anything,
know
but
what you mean.
that was like, that taught me a lot, So,
To be
yeah.
fair, I only saw my first black Muslim person when I was maybe when I was older, so it's high school, maybe like varsity. And I'm talking about seeing. I realized that Muslims weren't just Arabic. Um, when I got a little bit older, but once again, it's because what we were
Mhm.
exposed to. Just like how have you ever
Yeah.
seen a black Jewish person?
No.
But they exist. So, but it's crazy how our minds are shaped to view
Hmm.
specific stereotypes and to view specific things.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. So it's not a racist thing because I also remember we went to school, and I'm not gonna say too much about it. We went to school, went to varsity. Someone told me not to say school. Nadia. Um, at college, we went to school with some guys from Saudi Arabia. Those
Yeah.
those guys were I don't want to say too much, but I mean like they were completely different to what I expected. You know what I mean? from what you've heard on the news and all, like we're brainwashed to believe that people from different countries, like for example, I had a fear of going to Brazil. I had a fear when I was younger because
Why?
they always spoke about Rio. You know, if you go there, you don't speak Portuguese, you're gonna get hijacked and kidnapped, and this.
That's dumb.
But that's what they market. You know, that's what they communicate.
Interesting.
Now I'm like, because when I spoke to Pedro and them,
Uh-huh.
Pedro and Pedro, um, I missed them both, but tall Pedro was my man, that's my guy.
Is he the one who's already a dad?
Yeah,
Is that the tall Pedro?
see,
Hmm.
he's got such a kind heart. I wish to meet him again.
You
But
know, he came to Honduras. I wasn't here when they came, but he visited Honduras. Angel brought him here. So if you
ah,
want to know more about Honduras, you can ask him, I guess.
he was one of my favorite people on campus. In all,
He's really nice.
he's a really good person. I'm happy for him.
Hmm.
Um, So I mean, when I remember being exposed to Pedro y Pedro, and they told me what they know about South Africa. I'm like, no, Africa is not like that. But I've told someone told me Brazil is like this. They're like, no, Brazil is not like that. Brazil is like. I was just like, we're all being played. We are all being played. They're lying to us.
Hey, now that you say, now that I did have a racist comment one time in the US. I don't know if I should say this, but I was actually at the Houston airport. It was an immigration officer. And he asked for my F1 student visa and my I-20 and whatnot. And then he was like, why is it at that time, I think I was 20 or 21. Why is a 21-year-old young girl coming to the States? Are you wanting to get married? And I'm like, oh, because I was Colombian. So before I can rewind and say it again, like, why is a 21-year-old Colombian single girl, like young? I could say like he told me I was good looking or whatever, but he was like, what he said, like, you shouldn't say that, people. Like,
No, that's pure disrespect.
he was like, you're single, you're Colombian, you're coming here because you're gonna marry like a sugar daddy or something. And you know me now, like, I'm not that type of person. Like, even if I'm Colombian and with the stereotypes, like, I'm married now, but I would have never dated someone because of the money or because of the luxuries or something. No. And that was like so rude. But I was like, I just told him because he was an immigration officer. Like,
so you just want to get out.
I was not gonna start a fight or something because I just needed to go to St. Louis. But inside of me, that was like, that's sad. Like, is that what like he sees like on a regular basis? Like, that's sad. And even if I'm Colombian, I am not that type of girl. So yeah, I'm like, I just told him, I'm just here for school, that like for college. So yeah, that was the one I just remember that. But yeah,
I'm so sorry about that.
there's also this like stereotype of Colombian people and like you do drugs or you can find drugs for them or
yeah.
I'm not that type of person. I don't share that, but I'm not that.
I'm sure
So
it got
it's
worse
like,
after Narcos.
yes. Oh, I watch Pablo Escobar. Have you gone to like Medellin and do you watch that? And like, oh, I have Narcos on it. I'm like, I don't even watch that. Like, that's the wrong idea of Colombia. Yes, it still exists. No, it's not like it was before, but it's sad. Like, there's so much about Colombia and it's not Narcos. Like, it's one of the most like biodiverse countries in the world. It's like there's like desert, snow, jungle, rainforests, like the ocean, everything.
Let's go to Portugal.
Yeah.
My
like
am I saying it right? Portugal.
No, Portugal is Portugal, the country.
No, Portugal.
I don't. Bogota.
Oh, Bogota.
Is that what you mean?
Pardon. Bogota. There we go.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law's been there.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
You know what? One of the things I really, and I want to do it. Like, and it happened to me this year where, like a week ago, not a week, in the past month, it
Hmm.
hit me. The wanderlust in me really hit me. I still feel like I haven't traveled enough. And I've been in South Africa for too long. And one of the things that really inspires me till today, and maybe I'll honor him for this. It's Mitsuru. You know
I
what?
love him.
What he did for everyone who doesn't know, Mitsuru is our Japanese
He came
brother.
to Honduras.
Yeah, he traveled South America and Central America and learns
Uh
Espanol.
huh.
And for me, right, that's such a phenomenal thing because for him it was just like I'm throwing the
He's
world out.
Japanese too.
Exactly. So, and his trust me, his Spanish, his Espanol was not that good. But when he came back, I was so shocked. And it's one of those things that it's so inspiring. Like I really want to travel South America. I really want to travel Central America. One of my family friends, he's dating, if not engaged, to a girl
Mhm.
from Nicaragua. I think I've told you about her before.
And she lives in South Africa? No, I didn't know that.
No, they were actually in Missouri the same time we were. Remember, I had a cousin who was studying at
Oh,
what's that place called? Webster.
man, everyone's your family.
Hey
I feel like
hey
everyone in the world is your
hey
family. I
hey,
don't know how you do that.
make love, make babies. Come on. So yeah, the weirdest thing, she's from Nicaragua. Like, and I
Hmm.
just really want to. It sounds vain. I want to make so much money, right? I want to make so much money that I can decide tomorrow that, you know what? I want to buy a flight to Honduras to go see Jonathan and Lorena.
Oh, yes, you're
And
more
then
than
and
welcome
then
here.
and then from there, when we're there, we spend 3 days with you. Then it's like, you know what? Lorena, Jonathan, let's go to Bogota just for 2 days. And then we go to Bogota.
Yeah, such a short time. Hey, we look like such little kids, but this is Mitsuru. Isn't he
Mitsuru!
cute? I love him. I
Okay,
haven't
you.
talked with him for like 5 years,
5 years.
I guess.
I messaged him, I think maybe like a year or two ago on Facebook. It was very random.
I think he's one of the people that you will always remember, you know? Like there's just
He's
some people that
memorable.
you meet and you will never forget. Uh-huh.
Speaking of that, one thing I keep saying that I want to do on this show that I keep forgetting is, can you talk about, and you don't have to talk about the thing that you say we shouldn't talk about really, but let's talk about the first time we met. Like, let's talk
I
about,
know.
no, no, you don't have to say the word. I'm just saying, but I'm talking about the whole experience because for me, right? For me, the in life, and when I write my autobiography when I'm older, this is gonna be one of those moments. I just feel like in life you have these candid moments, like these moments where the universe literally freezes to capture what is
Uh-huh.
going on, majestic, full of energy. And I felt like when you, myself, and Ben met for the first time, those are one of those magical moments for me in my life. A moment that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. You know,
I was with Belen, right?
yes.
It's
Sorry,
kind of,
Belen.
yeah.
But we
Yeah.
weren't that close.
No, no, no. So it was funny. Okay. I'll try to be, it was such, I'm so thankful for that moment.
Same
I
here.
think it was like, it's how we are like, we don't talk every day. We just barely like say hi to each other. But that's like when we met. Like that was our first like conversation.
How did we even start talking?
Ben came to me. I don't know. So yeah, I won't talk about that. But then we started like you guys asked us like where it was a bonfire night. We were at the freshman
Oh,
experience week.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. It was like outside of the Evans Commons, like a place at Lindenwood. But it was the bonfire night and I think we were just standing with Belen, and then Ben came, and then you came, and then we started talking like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Where are you guys from?" Blah, blah. And told me like you're from South Africa, and I told you guys like, "You're the first people I've ever met from South Africa." And then he asked me like where I was from and whatnot, and then I told you guys about Honduras. And then it came my little dance, and I think that was like the historic moment. Like it was pretty embarrassing, but that's just who I am. Like,
But I don't think it's embarrassing at all because you're inquiring. I think too often enough people are shut down for inquiring, trying to learn. So I don't think it's an embarrassing moment, in all honesty.
so yeah. So that's when I shared with you guys the first conversation, like, oh, we have like African descendants in Honduras, like when the
Mm.
Spaniards came and they brought slaves and whatnot. But hey, they have this dance and it's called punta. And then I just started doing the dance moves. That was so awkward. Like I think about it now and I'm like, how did I do that? But I think it's just my personality. Like it was
So
just,
it's a
I
magical
don't know.
moment. I think um, it's unfortunate with Ben because Ben and I have known each other since grade zero, but I can't really recall the first time we met. He's just always been there.
Oh.
Um,
Mhm.
but there are people in my life, you being one of them, and also my girlfriend as well. I always tell her about. We always talk about the first time her and I met because it was long before because we're family friends.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that story. I would like to hear that too.
Okay, I'll tell it to you now.
Uh
Um,
huh.
there's just like I said, there's things outside of our control. You and
Mm-hmm.
quite a few people, not many, but there's a few people in my life who there's this genuine energy. Like I can promise you, even when I die, I'm gonna know you in the next lifetime. Because I feel like that the connection that we have, it's one of those. It's lifeless. It's one of those cosmic
Mm-hmm.
energies that are always intertwined. Maybe in the next lifetime, I'll be your horse and you'll be the rider. Who knows? But it's one of those things where it's like it's pure fate and destiny. And I'm really grateful for it. And it saddens me that that we're so far from each other. Not just you, like even Kalilu is also one of those people. I don't say it to him enough, and I should. Like, dude, Kalilu had such a huge impact on who I am as a person in terms of how I've grown emotionally and from an energy perspective. I was like, I'll always remember this guy. He was always meant to be somebody that I met, just like you, just like Ben, just like my girlfriend, for example. And I just cannot wait for the day I get to see you guys again. Like, I'm definitely going to make it happen from my side. Like, it's a promise that I will keep. That's for sure.
Yes.
That is for
I
sure.
remember that. Well, it's cute. Like you say, it's an energy. I would like to say I call it God's grace, and I'm so thankful for the time when we met. Because how a Honduran girl that goes like, or Colombian slash Honduran girl that goes and studies to the States, like, is going to meet like
In
a South
Missouri,
African in Missouri. Ah, like that's just I think it was like a God given moment.
you
But
can't write this stuff.
it's yeah, it's funny. Like I remember I always told you like I don't know how, but oops, sorry about that. But in 2020, I will go to South Africa, but I wasn't expecting the coronavirus and all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I'll have to postpone my date, but yeah, we still have to see each other again. And yeah, I would like to see like how's Pretoria and stuff.
Absolutely. I think you'll be surprised by South Africa because I think the one thing that you won't like about South Africa, I'll say, is South Africa is kind of like a mini America. Where yeah, really. Like shockingly. So there's a lot of things that's already happening there as the norm there, which wasn't the norm like here. And I remember when I came back for the first or second time and I saw we were like mimicking Americans in different ways. And I was so shocked. I was like, wow, we're gonna at some point we're gonna have a Donald J. Trump in South Africa. I'm telling you, it's gonna be one of the best, one of the greatest. But what I mean, it's gonna be one of those situations if it hasn't happened already. I wish it would not really, but it's sad to see. For me, it's sad to see that and South Africans will fight me for this. But if you actually live in the States, because visiting is different than living. If you live, you'll see that there's a lot of trends that we're following of America, and it's not good because um, Africa for me is it's such a beautiful place. Like you'll see the beauty when you come here, from every single city to every single state to every single corner. There's such beauty in this place. There's such beauty in the language. There's such beauty in the people. We're a
You know
kind
what?
people.
I don't think there's anything that I will not like. Like I already love it and I've never been there. It's like, for example, like one of the best people in my life, and I actually do have constant communication with him. It's Kweku. He
Kwegu.
actually graduated from his PhD, and
Yeah.
he's now a
Doctor.
pathology fellow at WashU University. I'm super proud
Pathologist.
of
So
him.
he's fighting the virus.
Yeah. So, but like, I've never been to Ghana, and I know you guys are like two totally different countries, but I already love it, and I've never been there. But
Yeah.
just like the way, like, how he is, and like how his community, like, they make me feel part of a community, and I'm not black. I can't speak Tree or whatever. Like, I can't understand what they say or anything, but it just makes you like feel like part of a community. And I feel like that's how it kind of is with you guys. So I don't think there's anything I will not like. And actually, when you say that South Africa is kind of like Americanized, like here, people like, first of all, a lot of people don't know where Honduras is at. But if you would come here to like the capital city, like you go around the city and it's full of Burger King, Church's Chicken, Little
Church's
Caesars,
chicken.
Pizza Hut, um,
Oh wow.
Popeyes, Subway, all of that. And that's American fast food when our food is so good and nutritious and whatnot, but it's Americanized. And then like the middle high class, like it's funny because they kind of speak Spanglish or English at times,
Oh, I
and
like that movie.
Spanglish. It's it's like a different reality from like the actual situation of Honduras
Yeah,
because it's not that.
that's super crazy. No, but when you come here, you have to make sure that you and Jono, that both Ben and I are with you. Because let me tell you, the problem with South African men, they're not gonna care that you have a husband. Esposo, don't care.
Don't say that. I still want to go to South
No,
Africa,
what
so
I'm
I'm gonna
saying,
take Jonathan with me.
no, no. What I mean is that if there are guys who don't care, but you have to
It's
know.
like a lot of Latinos here,
Really?
like Latinos in general. Yes, I'm not saying all of them,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, infidelity and all of that. It's like
yeah,
a real thing.
yeah.
Hmm.
But the thing
Yeah.
with the thing with South African guys, let me not generalize, but if you're with us, you'll be fine. Like
Okay,
some
I
like
will be with you,
yeah,
hermano.
yeah, we'll
Not
be
leaving your side.
yeah. Ben and I will make sure because it can be
Where's Ben? I
Ben.
haven't heard from him.
He is good and he is in love, like totally head over heels,
Who?
in love.
What?
Yeah, and she's
Is
I
she
think
South African or is she
this is embarrassing.
from another nationality? Or
I believe she's half Ugandan, half South African. Either that.
oh, he's the king from Uganda.
So either that or she's Ugandan, but she was raised here. One of the two of I just forget. But she's an amazing person. But I think more especially, she's an amazing person for him, and vice versa. They really like mix well. Like they really
That
really
is great.
complement each other. So I
Ben needs someone like her. Then I already like her.
she's great, and she knows how to stand up for herself. Best believe.
Mm.
So she's not gonna stand
And
for any nonsense.
another good reason that why I have to come to South Africa.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. But where in which city is he living at?
Same
Like, is
here.
he in
I think he's about
Pretoria?
yeah, he's about 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes from me by car.
That is so cool.
Yeah, he's right
Wow.
here. I saw him
Well,
not too
give
long
him a
ago.
big hug from me.
I will. I will. But no,
Yeah.
Lorena, thank you so much
Okay.
for joining us today. I really do. You know what? And what I really want to do, so when you come, right? I know you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll catch up, whatever. But I really want to get to know Jonathan because we know him as the myth, the story. You know, the legend of Jonathan. We don't. I don't really know him, and what I really want to do with him. Does he drink? Does he drink anything? Alcohol?
I mean, not really, but
What does he like?
like
What does he like to drink? Tea, beer,
he
juice,
likes coffee.
cafe. Okay. So I'll have
But
tea. I'll have tea.
um
He'll have coffee.
maybe like I don't know how I might get this wrong in English, like artisan beer, craft
Craft
beer, is that
beer.
how you call it?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, we don't really drink, but
Yeah, I know.
mhm.
No, but I want to share a drink with him, whether it's tea and coffee, because I just feel like, it's a huge, a responsibility I need to take. I feel like I'm your spiritual brother, and the fact that I actually really don't know him
Yeah.
that well, like it doesn't sit well with me. So we'll make it happen. Come here, we're gonna come there, have a ball in
Yes.
Honduras, and yeah, and it's gonna be the next stage of the rest of our lives, and I can't wait for it.
Yes. I miss you, hermano,
Mm.
and I'm so glad we were able to speak and keep up with your Spanish.
I will every day.
Should
I'm doing
do
it
it.
every
We
day.
should do another live about speaking Spanish or something like that.
We should absolutely. I'm actually having
Yeah.
I'm having Marias on the show.
Huh?
I think
Interesting.
towards the end of the month. I'll let you know when it happens.
Oh, then I think a lot of South Africans are going to learn a lot about Honduras.
Absolutely. These are my brothers and sisters. They have to know.
It's funny. Remember how he used to say that he was going to come back, but
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
fell in love. So
Uh-huh.
things change. Things change.
Ain't nothing like a woman's love. Well, ain't
Ooh.
nothing like a soulmate's love. That's real. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right,
I
hermana.
love you, hermano. It was
Th-
so good to catch up.
Me too. Ahora te quiero.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye.
Hasta luego.
Adios.